You meet some of the most interesting people at a Mecum auction, and Sandy Hewitt is a perfect example. I didn't recognize his name at first, but then he told me he's the son of Bill Hewitt. Bill Hewitt ran John Deere for, well, decades. He was a part of the company. Sandy, give us the story.
From 57 until about 62. And I'm brought here by my friend Mark Hess, who's been a friend since second grade. And he insisted that I come here. And I'm glad I did. And to see all these wonderful machines, many of them that I haven't even seen before, are remarkable. And let's see, what is this?
This is a 620 high crop, and this would have been made right about the first of that era when your dad was involved running the company.
Right, and we actually had something about this vintage, because I remember the flywheel and the hand clutch on our farm. We had the farm that is now the John Deere golf course. It was called Friendship Farm at the time. And so we didn't have a lot of tractors, but we did have something about like this. And that's what we used.
But for folks who aren't familiar, tell us about your heritage going back even farther, your involvement, your roots, really.
Well, John Deere was my great-great-great-grandfather. And so I'm sixth generation. And we have a pretty large family, and we get together once in a while for a family reunion. And one year we did it here, and it was fun because we went out to the tractor test facility, and we got to drive all the big stuff and had dinner at the admin center and different things. And I always joke, if you cut me, I'll bleed red and green. So it's just totally in my blood, and it was a very wonderful upbringing. My parents were wonderful, and
you shared with me a personal story about your mother, how she really played an instrumental role in expanding John Deere.
Oh, absolutely. And as you know, John Deere has an incredible art collection, and a lot of that was my parents. They would collect things from all over the world, including the Grant Woods portrait and different things that you would see it at the admin center. And
your mom had an international focus, though, also, you shared.
Well, she grew up that way. And my father never left California until World War II when he was 21. And then he was on the USS California, and before that, the Louisiana. And so he, started in the military, but then he met Tish, my mother, and they fell in love. And she introduced him, and he had a tremendous talent in business. And he was asked to run the company.
And what an exciting era.
My grandfather, Charlie Deere Wyman. So anyway.
What an exciting era that was, though, when you think about what was taking place in the farm equipment industry of the United States. He was right there leading the charge.
Yeah, and it was a good time. It was, the world was a little bit different now. With the internet and everything now, it's kind of a little more hectic. But
back in those days, much of the company had to be built on relationships, I would think.
Absolutely.
One-on-one. And strength of personality.
Absolute integrity. And also in, John Deere, they expanded to Japan with Yamaoka Tractor Company, Mr. Yamaoka, and, or Yanmar Tractor Company. And, it goes on and on and on. But expanded to Australia, to France, to Germany, to South Africa, everywhere. That was all really under my father's tillage, and much in part to my mother. I have to credit both. I cannot just say that it was all my dad. He was brilliant, and so was she. So
that's neat. I can see in your eyes the pride of not just your heritage going all the way back to John Deere, but what your folks did too.
Well, that's really true. It really is in my DNA. And the integrity and honor. And back then, it was way before cell phones and way before that. And it always amazed me how I could be way out in the field doing something, and some truck would pull up, and there would be two guys saying, "Hey, your dad wants you back at the office." And when I was a child, I actually literally, when they built the Rusty Palace, as some people call it,
The corporate headquarters at East Moline.
exactly. I was about this big. I literally screwed on the first bolt to put up the first beam of steel. And I know that place inside out. My grandmother's place, the Deere Wyman House, and Butterworth Center, all part of the family. I kind of grew up there. I'm going to take my friend Mark there this afternoon. And he sort of grew up there. So, it's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's just such a wonderful life. And every summer we'd take a trip somewhere to different countries. And it was always with the greatest integrity. And my mother was no slouch. She, if anybody that worked for us was working, I worked. It was just no ifs, ands, or buts. She was a wonderful, beautiful, kind person, but she was also very disciplinary. So, I never felt like I was raised as kind of like a kid with a silver spoon in his mouth or something like that.
You learned a great work ethic.
Yeah, and always had it.
What have you done through your career, Sandy?
When I graduated from college, I went to Knox College in Galesburg, Illinois, and then I was invited by a dear friend of mine, no pun intended. That was a great family friend, and people hear the name Rockefeller and they think, some sort of a overbearing whatever, but he really wasn't. He was a beautiful, beautiful human being. And we have a little competition over here.
I think they just started a Waterloo boy over there, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. But he was almost like a second father to me. And his wife, Peggy, was a beautiful human being. And I lived at their house, actually, for about 6 months when I first moved to New York and went to work for Chase Bank. And I worked there for 2 years. And then I did some entrepreneurial things. Then I moved to Colorado, and I started a real estate company with a dear friend of mine. And we were in Denver, Boulder, St. Louis, Dallas, Texas, and Indianapolis, Indiana, and Phoenix, Arizona,
Yeah.
So we became a pretty good sized company.
So it's had to be a great source of pride for you to see the Deere brand not just survive, but still thrive and helping lead the way today.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that it always will. And, I've stayed in touch with each CEO and all of the people at Deere. Because one of my greatest memories was about the time that my father retired and became ambassador to Jamaica, was that we were on a factory floor and there was a forklift with this very tall, very good-looking black man with great white teeth, and he slammed on the brakes and he jumped off the forklift and ran over to my father and gave him a hug. This is a factory worker. I have always believed that if you really want to know about a company and how it's run, that what you do is you talk to the person that is sweeping the floors. They are the ones that will actually tell you the culture of the company and how the management really is. And to see this guy run up to my father, give him, my father was 6'4" also, and just give him a big embrace, just like that. It was fascinating.
Your story gives me chills, Sandy. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. It's been an honor.
Well, thank you so much for putting me on, even though I'm nervous as hell and I don't like doing interviews. But
they're moving the Waterloo boys
you're
right
a
here.
good man, and
thank you, sir,
for your time.
Chris, swing around there so folks can see what's been going on as we've been talking about the great John Deere heritage with Sandy Hewitt, son of Bill Hewitt, who ran John Deere for many years, and the heritage goes back. He bleeds red and green, by all means.